Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Saddharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Saranyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nande Namataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. And the translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. So you may repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
So we will move on to chapter 17. We can put that chapter in the beginning onto the screen. It's entitled Ecstatic Love. So we have covered Vaidhi, Sadhana Bhakti, devotional service and practice. And then we came to chapters 15 and 16 in relation to Ragatmika Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti, which means spontaneous devotional service. And now we are in chapter 17, which is called Ecstatic Love. And the word ecstatic love basically is called Bhava Bhakti. Bhakti means love. Bhava means ecstasy or ecstatic. So I'm reading. By the process of executing regulated devotional service, one is actually elevated into the transcendental stage beyond the material modes of nature. At that time, one's heart becomes illuminated like the sun. The sun is far above the planetary systems, and there is no possibility of its being covered by any kind of cloud. Similarly, when a devotee is purified, like the sun, from his pure heart, there is a diffusion of ecstatic love, which is more glorious than the sunshine. Only at that time is the attachment to Krishna perfect. Spontaneously, the devotee becomes eager to serve the Lord in his ecstatic love. At this stage, the devotee is on the platform of Uttama Adhikari, perfect devotion. Such a devotee has no agitation for material affections and is interested only in the service of Radha and Krishna. Amagyana timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Akshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jana Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We should understand that what I'm about to discuss is a sort of a theoretical situation, and in no way, I'm in the category of this type of level of devotional service. At the same time, you will find that when Srila Prabhupada speaks about it, he speaks about this in relation to also Srila Rupa Goswami from their heart or personal perspective. But the perception that they speak about is that they can see it in others. It's not necessarily that when we describe these things that, oh yes, this must be me. I'm like this now. I'm on Bhava Bhakti or Prema Bhakti. No. The actual understanding we should take from this is that these type of symptoms and characteristics within this chapter 17, 18, as well as 19, we can see that in others through the eyes of the scripture, Shastra Chakshus. It's not that, because I may be on this platform, therefore I can recognize it in somebody on the same platform. Not like that at all. So we should take it that we are seeing through the eyes of Shastra Chakshus. We are seeing it through the consciousness of Srila Rupa Goswami. We are seeing it through the consciousness of Srila Prabhupada, as they have given to us in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and the Nectar of Devotion, respectively. So that's the premise or the foundation of these three chapters, 17, 18, and 19. And chapter 17 is entitled Ecstatic Love, and chapter 18 is entitled Character of One in Ecstatic Love. In other words, chapter 17, I'm just grouping these chapters together for discussion at this beginning now. In other words, chapter 17 will show us how someone else can come to the point of Bhava Bhakti. In other words, how did it develop to the stage of Bhava Bhakti? Not that they themselves who are in Bhava Bhakti know it. They do not know it. See, and I gave the example of, can you see I'm walking yesterday? And the other example, somebody walks naturally without knowing that they are walking. See? And chapter 18 tells us when one is already in Bhava Bhakti, when you see that person already in Bhava Bhakti, how do you recognize that they're in Bhava Bhakti? And that's given about the characteristics of their behavior. One was one in Bhava Bhakti. So I'll repeat. Chapter 17 is how you can see somebody from the Shastric perspective that they can come to Bhava Bhakti. And chapter 18, I'll repeat, is the person has already attained Bhava Bhakti, and you can recognize them by certain characteristics or by their certain behavioral patterns or symptoms. And chapter 19 is that Bhava Bhakti is like the sun's rays, and immediately, momentarily, the sun will come up, which is the sun of Krishna Prema. That means from Bhava Bhakti rises the sun of Prema Bhakti, which means from the rays and the sun comes out. But nevertheless, because of the sun, the rays were present as a pre-step before the sun comes up. In that sense. All right, so these are very elevated topics for discussion. We will try our best to try to serve you in this regard for today. Now, and there is a beautiful verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu itself, which describes this particular paragraph I just read. And it goes as follows. Sudha Sattva Vishesh Atma Prema Suryam Sasamyabak Ruchi Bishchitta Mashrinya Prit Asubhava Uchyate. This is directly Rupa Goswami's verse that Prabhupada translates in what I just read. Now, one devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness. So therefore, it's beyond the three modes of material nature. It is like a sun ray of the love for Krishna, which is prema. See? So first the sun rays and the sun comes momentarily thereafter. So at such a time, devotional service causes the heart, unknowingly to one, to be softened by various tastes. And at that stage, one is situated in bhava, which is also translated as ecstasy, but more here, it's translated as emotions because of the soft-heartedness of that particular devotee. See? So therefore, bhava bhakti is in three ways to come up to that point. It is in the mode of pure goodness, Suddha Sattva. That means it is not in Sattva Gun, Rajaguna, Tamagun. It's beyond that. It's called Suddha Sattva, Vasudev state. And secondly, it is like a sun ray of love, the rays of love, which is Krishna Prema, the sun itself. So this means that when bhava appears, prema is not so far away. It is just momentarily coming, which is the sun. Just like we see the first rays of the sun, and not long after that, the sun itself comes out. So there's not much time factor from bhava to prema. It is following consecutively in a natural, spontaneous way. And the third one is the heart is becoming softened by various tastes or emotions for Radha and Krishna and for their devotees. Now comes the question for the chapter itself. How does a person, that you can see others, come to the stage of ecstatic love or bhava bhakti? So we go to page 132 in your textbook, and it's in the first paragraph, and I'm reading. It begins with the word elevation to the stage of ecstasy. Okay, we're there. Elevation to the stage of ecstasy can be possible in two ways. One way is by constant association with pure devotees. The other way is by the special mercy of Krishna, or by the mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna. Elevation to the ecstatic stage of life is generally attained through association with pure devotees, while elevation to that stage by the special mercy of Krishna or his devotee is very rare. The purport is that one should execute devotional service rigidly in the association of devotees, so that there will be certainty in raising oneself to that ecstatic position. In special cases, of course, there is special favor from Krishna. And although we should always expect that, we should not sit idly and simply wait for Krishna's special mercy. The regular duties must be performed. It is just as when sometimes it is found that a person who never attended school or college may be recognized as a great scholar, or an honorary degree from great universities may be offered to him. But this does not mean that one should avoid school and expect to automatically receive an honorary degree from some university. Similarly, one should devotedly execute the regulative principles of devotional service and at the same time hope for Krishna's favor or for his devotees' favor. So it is just to emphasize and recollect in a summarized form. There are four ways, in a sense, that one comes to the stage of Bhava Bhakti, unknowingly though. One is that rigid execution of devotional service. That means by the mercy of sadhana bhakti, which is called sadhana bhakti kripa. See? By the mercy of rigidly following the rules and regulations from sadhana bhakti, one comes to raganuga bhakti, then bhava bhakti. So that's one way. The other way is simply by the mercy of pure devotees, which is called Vaishnav Kripa. See? Yeah, Vaishnav Kripa, which means the constant association of pure devotees. See? In other words, constantly. One should not go away from devotees. Constantly, as much as opportunity arises, associate with devotees. Something is happening on the screen. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So how does one come to the stage? How do you see somebody coming to the stage of Bhava Bhakti? I mentioned rigid execution of devotional service, which means mercy of sadhana bhakti, sadhana bhakti kripa. Constant association of pure devotees, that means Vaishnav kripa. In other words, in a general sense also this can be called sadhu sangha kripa. And another way is the special mercy of Krishna. Even if one is not qualified for Bhava Bhakti or ecstasy, Krishna may bestow it, even if one is not qualified for it. That's called Krishna Kripa. And the other one is also special mercy of Krishna's devotees. And especially that is called Guru Kripa. That means an exalted person will just bless you without you being qualified to come to Bhava Bhakti. But we should not wait for this Vaishnav Kripa or Krishna Kripa or Guru Kripa. We should simply continue to execute sadhana bhakti rigidly in executing the principles and rules and regulations of devotional service. Now, Bhava Bhakti is very, very rare, extremely rare. And that's for two reasons, basically. Even if we practice after a long time, but we still do not have attachment for Krishna, see, one cannot really receive Bhava Bhakti. Receive means we cannot achieve or attain Bhava Bhakti as a result. It descends by its own mercy, that stage of Bhava Bhakti ecstasy. It's like ecstasy is waiting to enter your heart, but you haven't prepared your heart to receive ecstasy. And that preparation of the heart to receive ecstasy is actually to develop initially one's own attachment for Krishna, irrespective whether Krishna reciprocates or not. Okay? So therefore, it is rare because it cannot really just come by you trying to achieve it, command it, or demand it. See? For two reasons. And the second reason is that Krishna himself, he keeps this Bhava Bhakti very confidentially, and he does not easily award it. does not easily award. So therefore, by the rigid execution of devotional service, we do not develop attachment for Krishna, we will not get this ecstasy. And secondly, that Krishna does not easily award Bhava Bhakti because it's a very confidential thing. It will control Krishna. That's what it exactly means. So this is the ways to look at somebody who wants to come to the platform of Bhava Bhakti. Now we go to chapter 18. And this is about the character, the behavior, and the symptoms of one who's already in ecstatic love, already on the platform of Bhava Bhakti, but unknowingly to them. But whereas we, or I, through the scripture, I can see that this person has these symptoms, and therefore I know is an advanced soul in that sense. So I am reading chapter 18, Character of One in Ecstatic Love. Rupa Goswami next describes the characteristics of a person who has actually developed his ecstatic love for Krishna. The characteristics are as follows. 1, he is always anxious to utilize his time in the devotional service of the Lord. He does not like to be idle. He wants service always, 24 hours a day, without deviation. 2, he is always reserved and perseverant. 3, he is always detached from all material attraction. 4, he does not long for any material respect in return for his activities. 5, he is always certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. 6, he is always eager to serve the Lord faithfully. We need it on the screen. Yeah. 7, he is very much attached to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. 8, he is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And 9, he is very pleased to live in a place where the Lord's pastimes are performed. Example, Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwarka. So these 9 systems in Sanskrit, you may have heard this word before. It's called anubhavas. Anubhavas, in that sense. So this anubhavas indicates that, shantir, forgiveness. Avyata kalatvam, he is free from wasting any time. Viraktir, he is completely detached from material life. Manasunyata, rather. There's no false ego in this person. Ashabandhu, he is always hopeful. Samutkanta, always eager in devotional service. Namagana is attached to chanting the holy names of the Lord. And he has taste, ruchi. Ashakti, he is quite attached to Krishna in describing, gunakyane, in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And he has affection for the Lord. See, priti, vasati stale, and he likes to stay in the holy places. And you can stay in a temple also, as Srila Prabhupada says. See? So these are the signs of behavior of somebody who has developed, you could say, bhavan kure. In other words, it was seed of ecstatic emotion as is beginning to grow and develop in that. So the verse I just discussed is actually from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in these terms given directly by Srila Rupa Goswami. Okay? So one should note that in chapter 17, what causes somebody to come to Bhava Bhakti, but in chapter 18 here, these are symptoms of somebody who already has Bhava Bhakti. And in the rest of the chapter, Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada gives detailed descriptions of each one on page, you don't have to go to it. On page 135 it begins, 136, 137, 138, yeah, up to 138 in a sense. See? So now we'll go to one more part and we'll read from the same chapter on page 139. It's beginning with the words, such attraction for remembering Krishna's activities. It's further down. No, go. It's page 139. Yes. Such attraction for remembering Krishna's activities is known as attachment for Krishna. There are impersonalist philosophers and mystics, however, who by a show of devotional service want ultimately to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord. They sometimes try to imitate a pure devotee's sentiment for visiting the holy places where Krishna had his pastimes, but they simply have a view for salvation, and so their activities cannot be considered attachment. Next paragraph. That means the impersonalist, the next paragraph. It is said by Rupa Goswami that attachment exhibited by pure devotees for Krishna cannot possibly be perfected in the hearts of fruitive workers, karmis, or mental speculators, because such attachment in pure Krishna consciousness is very rare and not possible to achieve, even for many liberated persons. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, liberation from material contamination is at the stage at which devotional service can be achieved. For a person who simply wants to have liberation and to merge into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, attachment to Krishna is not possible to acquire. This attachment is very confidentially kept by Krishna and is bestowed only upon pure devotees. Even ordinary devotees cannot have such pure attachment for Krishna. Therefore, how is it possible for success to be achieved by persons whose hearts are contaminated by the actions and reactions of fruitive activities and who are entangled by various types of mental speculation? Okay. In other words, Srila Prabhupada is telling us if somebody pretends or somebody has material desires or somebody is not engaged in devotional service to Krishna like the impersonalists or jnanis or the mental speculators, it's not possible for them to feel this ecstasy, in relationship to Krishna. It's not possible. So when people, sometimes you see this, that people sometimes they may start showing some symptoms like crying, dancing and crying. They may not be considered pure devotees, or at best they may not be considered devotees at all. See? So Rupa Goswami tells us these persons cannot really have, bhava, because bhava can only be attained by the rigid execution of pure devotional service. And even that too, Krishna does not give it very easily. He keeps it confidential. So sometimes some practicing devotees who are not on the stage of bhava, but still have anatta nivriti, still have things in their heart, material desires. And they are devotees, in the beginning stages. They may even be initiated. Yeah. Now, when they cry, the word that Rupa Goswami used is called rati abas. See? Rati can also mean natural attachment for Krishna. But abas means it's like a reflection or a shadow of somebody else's natural attachment for Krishna. Because rati is the synonym for bhava. It can be translated also as attachment, and bhava is translated as ecstasy. However, rati abbas means Abbas means, like a shadow, uh, a reflection. Or sometimes the strong word is used in English, imitation of a symptom of somebody who is in Bhava Bhakti. See? So this is not necessarily the level of Bhava. It is just called Rati Abbas, a glimpse of the shadow of a real attachment, or a reflection of the real attachment, or at best as a strong word, like an imitation of real attachment. So these are more explicitly described, in the chapter itself, which you may read on your own. Okay. So before I proceed to chapter 19, it may appear that we may be concluding our our Nectar of Devotion classes of this first chapter 19 up to chapter 19 today. But before I move on to chapter 19, which is the final chapter in this series of classes that I've been engaged by you to give you in your association, of course. So you have any questions thus far? Anyone? Or comments? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Prema, anyone has a question yet?
So far, no, Maharaj.
Okay. So let's proceed to chapter 19 in the text. You can put it on the screen for us. Chapter 19, Devotional Service in Pure Love of God. And the first line actually describes it, just the first line. When one's desire to love Krishna in one's particular relationship becomes intensified, this is known as pure love of Godhead. In the beginning, a devotee is engaged in the regulative principles of devotional service by the order of his spiritual master. When one thereby becomes completely purified of all material contamination, they develop an attachment and taste for devotional service. This taste and attachment, when gradually intensified in the course of time, become love. The word love can be actually applied only in relationship with the personality of Godhead. In the material world, love is not applicable at all. What goes on under the name of love in the material world is nothing but lust. There is a gulf of difference between love and lust, like the difference between gold and iron. In the Narada Pancharatra, it is clearly stated that when lust is completely transferred to the Supreme Godhead and the concept of kingship is completely reposed in him, such is accepted as pure love of God by great authorities like Bhishma, Prahlad, Uddhava, and Narada. Great authorities like Bhishma have explained that love of Godhead means completely giving up all so-called love for any other person. According to Bhishma, love means reposing one's affection completely upon one person, withdrawing all affinities for any other person. This pure love can be transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead under two conditions: out of ecstasy, which is Bhava Bhakti, and out of the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. So these last two ways or kinds is actually the eligibility for Prema Bhakti, or pure love of Godhead. See? So there's a beautiful verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, text 23, chapter 23, text 7. It says, Samyam mashrinito swanto mamat vatissayankita bhavasa eva sandratma buddhahi prema nigatyate. What does this mean? When that bhava, that devotional service and ecstasy, or ecstatic love, when it completely softens the heart, it becomes endowed with a great feeling of possessiveness in relation to Krishna or the Lord. And it becomes so condensed, like how you get condensed milk, and intensified, and that is called prema, or love of Godhead. So there are basically three qualities for somebody who is in pure love of Godhead, from this definition and what I just read also. That if one has any affinity or affection, uh, you know, for any other person, that is no more there. That is no more there. And the desire of loving Krishna becomes intensified, and therefore that automatically goes away. That's the second one. And the third one is that all sense of kinship or possessiveness is only reposed in Krishna. And there's no interruption. It is completely continuous, completely continuous. So I'll give like a mundane example, a mundane example. It is a sort of mundane example, but it sort of gives a kind of point. Because the mundane example is completely temporary, but it gives a point. Like, sometimes, well, if you come from a highly cultured family background in terms of living the culture of Krishna consciousness, this may not happen to one. Or if you have some vestige of Indian culture or Vedic culture, that may not happen to one. See? But it happens to most people in this world. It happens to most people in this world. Especially when one is in teenagehood. In other words, there is a word in English, it's called infatuation. Like if a girl becomes attracted to a boy for the first time, or a boy may be similarly attracted to a girl for the first time, and especially in their formative years. For the girls, it could be like 15 or 16 years of age. Of course, nowadays it's worse, like formative years. And for the boy, maybe 18, 19, up to 21, like that. See? So if someone like that is infatuated by another boy or by another girl, it's like anything in the world reminds them of that person. See? For example, if the girl sees that boy's little sister, immediately by seeing the sister, she reminds herself of the boy that she's infatuated with. Okay? And she knows that, that boy that she's completely infatuated with likes to wear black color clothes. So when she sees like anything that's black, dark black, she's get reminded of the boy. And she feels, this boy I know in my association with him, he always likes to eat pizza. So every time she sees pizza, it's like, oh, him, like that. Now, the intensity of such an affection and attachment to one particular person is sort of blinding. Nothing else matters. in that infatuation. Even if experienced persons and even those who are deeply concerned and attached to you, like your mother and father and your elder siblings, they may tell you, look, this won't last. It won't last. You know? And sometimes they may use the words, like to react to their parents and who are saying, look, this won't last, there's infatuation. You'll get over it, don't worry. It's just a few months or maybe even a few years and you'll get over it. Okay. But the other person will fight and say, the one who's infatuated, and say, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. I cannot live without him, or I cannot live without her. You don't understand. He's my very life of my life. Like that. So such a deep, sort of feelings and emotions towards one particular person. It's called infatuation. Now we all know, and anyone knows in the material world, even if somebody has been deeply infatuated and eventually they get married to that person, they know after marriage that infatuation and that kind of like sort of so deep consciousness of the person, even in their absence, that others remind them of the person, other things remind them of the person, is no more there. See? But such an experience of infatuation is actually the original nature of Krishna Prema, pure love of Godhead, or Radha and Krishna. See? So one of the, you could say, symptoms of this type of love for Krishna, in the end, somebody will say, well, not really even say it. They feel intensely. I'm just trying to say it because I don't feel that way. Like internally, they intensely may feel, look, Krishna, you are mine. Or Radha and Krishna, you both are mine. That means there's a so intense feeling of possessiveness within oneself towards Radha and Krishna. See? And then in reciprocation, when one feels that Krishna and Radharani, you are mine. In reciprocation, when they reciprocate with you, Radha and Krishna, you will feel, Krishna, yes, I am yours. You are mine is from your side. But when you say I am yours, it's from Radha and Krishna's side. So there's a mutual sense of exclusive possessiveness. And nothing can come in between my possessiveness of Krishna, and nothing can come in between of Krishna's feeling that he possesses me. Nothing can come in between. That is pure love of God. Pure love of God. Yes. Now, this pure love of God, it kind of has some developments to it, which we're going to just discuss in some theoretical way, has some developments to it. And it first is manifested in its increasing feature of what is called sneha, or affection. See? And then that sneha, or affection, is manifested sort of like, you could say in one sense, mana. Mana means that, you have so much affection for somebody that there's a kind of, you could say, indignation or a counter consciousness of love in relationship to Radha and Krishna. See? I'll kind of give an example. In one sense, this man or this mana, after following from sneha, deep affection, it is like a type of angry love, love in like in an anger sort of consciousness. In other words, you know, who is she to speak to speak to him like that? Doesn't she know that I'm very attached to him? Like like Chandravali will say something about Radharani like that. They are rivals, in that sense. So it's a kind of like, uh, it's a kind of transcendental, uh, it's hard, it's transcendental anger in a sense, man, but it gives indignation or a type of expression of counter love. You know, like sometimes, um, sometimes, somebody will say like, oh, I know you really don't love me anymore, but it's like not really like that. It is like telling the other person, look, why have you stopped reciprocating with my love? That's all. It's like out of anger, you may counter love it. I know you don't love me anymore. It's like that. But these are very high elevated stages of prema bhakti. So from sneha, affection, comes that mana, indignation or counter love. And thereafter it increases um, to what is called pranaya. And pranaya simply means you're coming back to increase your love. From sneha to man to pranaya, from affection to sort of counter love to actually coming back to love, pranaya. And from that pranaya comes again a deep sense of rag. And that rag is actually called, it's like an agitated, in a sense, like, I'm so agitated in my attachment for you. Just so much attached, so much attached. And from that rag comes like different symptoms of sub-attachment, which is called anurag. From rag, anurag. So sneha to mana to pranaya to rag and then to anurag. It's quite an amazing, elevations of internal deep states of consciousness and love for Krishna. And from that anurag comes another type of ecstasy, which is also called bhava. See, bhava. But it's not like bhava bhakti or ecstatic love. It's another type of ecstasy that increases from that rag and sub-attachment, attachment to sub-attachments to anurag. And from that bhava, stemming from anurag, that type of ecstasy comes what is called mahabhava. Mahabhava. And mahabhava is a type of like sublime ecstasy, which practically only 3 persons experience, known to scripture. And that is Krishna, Srimati Radharani, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahabhav. See? So sometimes Krishna is called Rasaraj Mahabhav. See? Rasaraj Mahabhav. See? And Lord Chaitanya experiences the symptoms and the mood of ecstasy, of sublime ecstasy of Srimati Radharani. And Radharani is also experiencing that. Now, in order to sort of understand these different levels of development of prema itself, examples are given actually in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Like first you get bija or seeds, and from that seeds you get ikshu, which actually grows into sugarcane plants. And from, in order to understand the development of this, different stages of prema, from the seeds, like a sugarcane shoot, you get the sugarcane plant itself. And from the sugarcane plant itself, when it's mature, rasa, bija, ikshu, then rasa, a juice comes out. Right? And from that juice, when it's like intensified, by the heat of one's own love for Krishna, it becomes gudha, molasses. And then this gudha, it further takes on a form by one's own consciousness of intensification of the heat of love of God, it comes a kandasara, means, crude sugar. See, when juice is crystallized, it becomes molasses. Rasa becomes gudha. And molasses is further, you could say, purified, it becomes crude sugar. And from crude sugar, it becomes, kandasara, crude sugar, it further takes the form of, you could say refined sugar. It's like more tasty and it's all sweet. It's called sarkara. That means just sugar itself. And from sarkara, when one takes that sugar as it's becoming sarkara, it develops into sita michari. And sita michari indicates it becomes sugar candy. Actually, sugar candy is the best, from the sugar cane. But from sugar candy, it becomes like crystallized and more hardened. See? And it can last for a long time without any conditions of temperature. So it lasts for a long time. And that sugar candy becomes Sudha Michari. From Sita Michari, it becomes Sudha Michari, which means rock candy. It's hard, rock candy. So the development of these different stages of Prema Bhakti is compared to like sugarcane seeds, sugarcane plants, then to sugarcane juice, molasses, then crude sugar, refined sugar, sugar candy, and rock candy. It's quite amazing. So just as the taste of sugar increases as it becomes gradually purified, similarly love for Krishna increases from rati, which is this attachment, which is compared to the beginning state as a stage, and it gradually increases in its taste right up to bhava and mahabhava. Well, these are elevated topics. So at this point, I would like to move for a vote of thanks. Before I take questions again, I could take questions again. So this initial series of classes was initiated by two devotees, Mohana Murlidhar Prabhu and Amrita Sakhi, and especially Amrita Sakhi, with the blessings of a good husband and pati, Mohana Murlidhar Prabhu. They initiated some move towards me to give talks online for the Bhakti Vriksha members in Kuala Lumpur. And we gave about a week of talks, then we moved on to the series of the Nectar of Devotion classes, which is also for the Bhakti Shastri students in Malaysia and other places, and also as classes. Of course, you can also develop your own systems of assessment by giving them the examinations later on. So we'd like to thank immensely Amrita Sakhi and Mohana Murlidhar Prabhu for helping all of you and for engaging me in this service accordingly on these online classes. And then also we have our Krishna Prema Pradayaka Prabhu, who took up the responsibility for, hosting the rest of the time, especially with this classes here for Nectar of Devotion from the Zoom as the main organizer of these classes. And we thank him immensely also for that. Of course, we also thank the management members, in various temples there. The names, who you are, for, encouraging and inspiring the devotees for coming onto these online classes and giving me the necessary, you could say, joy and inspiration to, to give these talks and reciprocate in your questions and answers for all the devotees who came online, either fully, partially, or most of the time. Yes. At this point, we can take some comments or questions, or even if devotees wish to speak, like for a minute or so, if they want anyone, their kind of realizations about this beautiful book, translated by Srila Prabhupada as Nectar of Devotion from the original book by Srila Rupa Goswami called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that we were diving into the ocean of the nectar of devotion. Yes. So feel free to say how you felt about it. At the same time, if you have any questions or comments, you can also ask. Anyone?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. There's a question by Shanti Mataji.
Okay. Please come onto the screen and ask the question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
My question is, why is most courses on Nectar of Devotion only to chapter 19 and they don't cover the second part of the book?
Oh, we can always cover the other three sections, divisions. However, for the sake of study within like the Bhakti Shastri degree studies, only the 19 chapters, which has got to do with the formative stages of sadhana bhakti to bhava bhakti to prama bhakti, is discussed. But there's no stopping us to go ahead with the rest of the divisions. You know, we only cover the Eastern division. We can go through the other chapters, and that will require a kind of audience that is ready in their consciousness for that. And the basic eligibility for the other chapters comes from being involved in rigidly following the rules and regulations of devotional service and sadhana bhakti. At least one should be, following the 4 regulative principles and chanting minimum 16 rounds daily, whether one is initiated or not. And as far as possible, one should be like, only honoring Krishna prasadam, food cooked by devotees and offered by devotees. It's very important. Otherwise, the other sections are actually dealing with, ecstatic love for Krishna, basically, in different rasas. And it's a wonderful thing. It's an amazing thing to also churn and discuss. But one eligibility to actually begin those chapters is that everyone who's going to discuss that, online or in person would be better, is that one would have completed nicely once, 16 rounds of japa before one comes to discuss that, at least, and follow the 4 principles. Is that all right?
Yes. Are we able to do it?
Well, not right now, and maybe sometime in the future, but it requires it's sort of it requires some snigdasya. It requires some similar, you could say, states of consciousness to enter into it's not even understanding. It's not jnana. It's not like knowledge for the sake of knowledge and theory. No. The remaining of the chapters is just it's just pure rasa or relationship with Krishna. It's just pure relationships with Krishna. In fact, one early devotee, early disciple of Srila Prabhupada named Bharat Prabhu, is quite famous. His child, his son, is quite also well known for his kirtan. His name is Gauravani Prabhu. He's from the Washington, D.C. area in the US. So Bharat Prabhu one time was expressing his sentiments about Krishna consciousness. See? He said something like, if I recall, he said something like Krishna consciousness is rasa. Is rasa, just relationships or love that is just masquerading as philosophy. The philosophy is like a masquerade. But when you go beyond the philosophy, beyond discussion, beyond argument, beyond logic, beyond reasoning, beyond debate, and that is the rest of the chapters. It is just a love for Krishna in different relationships. So there's a type of kind of eligibility for that. And the eligibility comes in two ways. One is that one is rigidly following sadhana bhakti externally, at least, even if one doesn't need to follow internally for the sake of setting an example for others. And the other is the causeless mercy of our Srila Prabhupada and the causeless mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami to actually enter into those chapters. And the causeless mercy is not that we should pray for it, because the causeless mercy is already in the translation itself. In other words, they have translated the Nectar of Devotion. Prabhupada is translated and Rupa Goswami has given us Bhakti Rasa. So that's already its causeless mercy. But we pray to them still to enter into the mysteries of those remaining, you could say, divisions or chapters to come. We just covered the Eastern Division with so many waves in them. All right, next comment or question, or even if you want to share a realization, or understanding of what we went through in practically for almost a month, I think. Today would be the 8th, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
And we began on the 13th, almost a month, from 13th of April to now. Anyone else? Somebody has written something, but I cannot read it. Some person has written something.
Yes.
Can they speak?
Yes. Mohana Murli Prabhu and Amrita Shaki Mataji, they want to say something.
Let them come onto the screen.
Hare Krishna Prabhu
I
and
still have
Mataji.
some concluding words, but that will come in the end. I can hear some kirtan somewhere.
Oh, okay, that's my side. Sorry.
That's you, right?
I mean, they're praying in the mosque, so I think you can hear it.
Okay, that's fine. That's auspicious sounds also. We should respect that.
Yes.
Allahu Akbar. We should respect that. They have a sense of being God-fearing or God-conscious. That's fine. That's following the footsteps of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also. Okay, Amrita Saki and Mona Murida, please come onto the screen.
Yes,
Thank you.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Mona Murida will go first.
No, Maharaj, it's her question today.
Oh, you have a question. Okay, tell me.
Maharaj, actually, we would like to, really want to thank you so much for using us as an instrument in this service. So it's actually Maharaj's causeless mercy.
That's not true. You used me first as an instrument.
No, Maharaj.
But you questioned me to do the service. So thank you for making me your nice instrument.
No, Maharaj. We're really very happy and very grateful, Maharaj. And I have this request that we have been hearing so much, and it is really nectar of devotion. But please bless us that we will be able to apply it in our life, Maharaj. That whatever we have learned.
We bless you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Bless you all to apply this as much as you can. And gradually dive into the ocean of the nectar devotion. Nice.
Thank you so much. Maharaj, can I just...
Maharaj, she has a question.
Oh, now you have a question. Okay.
Yeah.
Maharaj, this is about the demigods, regarding the demigods, which Maharaj discussed in one of the sessions. So I would like to ask Maharaj, what is the best way to, if I've been given some a prasadam that is offered to the demigods. So what is the best way to respect it?
In other words, you went to a program of some ceremony to a demigod, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
And in that program, they, with their good wishes, and it's all vegetarian foodstuffs anyway, they
Yes.
offered you some stardom from the demigod.
Yes.
So in order to keep a favorable relationship with them, you should accept the prasadam,
Mhm.
but it's not necessarily that you have to partake of the prasad. You can say, I accept it and I will take it away with me. So that prasad, you should not give any other human being. You should take it and you put it to the lower species of life, like, because they don't go to the laws of karma. To like the ants, the birds and the animals, you just leave it, just don't throw it away. Gently leave it by respecting the demigods, onto some place where the other living entities will come and partake of food. But you don't need to tell your host that, who gave it prasad.
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard like if when we take that, can I just ask one more thing, Maharaj?
You see, when you accept it from them, you
Uh-huh.
are keeping a favorable relationship open for them to receive Krishna consciousness later. It's very important.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'll give you an example. It's not really prasad, but it's like it's a similar principle. Like sometimes I go door to door and preach, and I'll knock on somebody's door, and the persons are very pious people. So when you enter the home, because they didn't expect you and you didn't expect to be received there too. So they're very gracious people. So then sometimes a little baby or girl, few years old, she may have some like chocolate in her hand, you know, and then she'll come up to you, or because she's very friendly with everyone, in front of the parents, she'll say, "Can you take?" So I will take. I will take, because if I refuse the little girl, then the consciousness will change in the home, from the parents towards me. So it won't be favorable for me to speak to them about Krishna consciousness. But I'll take that and I'll keep it with me. See? But the parents may know that I'm not supposed to eat that because they know I'm a Hare Krishna. See? But the little child doesn't know. But when the parents see that I have accepted this from the child, although I'm not supposed to take it, they also become very happy. So then I'll take it away with me. And I will, leave it somewhere. I won't give it to another human being and leave it somewhere and like that. Because for the lower species of life, there's no karma. They act by instinct. They don't act by knowledge. So I'll give you an example, a very nice example. There was like a very big man in Calcutta, wealthy in the sense that he works hard. And he was called, Prabhupada said, he was called the Sweet Ball King. Sweet Ball King. In other words, his shops around the city, the sweets were all sold out. Sweet Ball King. He was nicknamed as the Sweet Ball King. So one time he came to visit Srila Prabhupada in Calcutta. And obviously, the Sweet Ball King will bring sweets. And apart from being like some type of Vaishnavas, they also worship Durga and Kali. That's rampant in the whole of West Bengal. See? So obviously he must have brought some sweets, and Prabhupada really can't offer it in front of him because he prepared the sweets and Prabhupada knew. But Srila Prabhupada was with some disciples, which included His Holiness Brhat Swami, at that time as the brahmachari. So Prabhupada, when the Sweet Ball King offered the sweets to Prabhupada, Prabhupada took and he ate. Of course, we cannot imitate Prabhupada because he's like a Papa Vidam. he can purify a filthy place by accepting something that's not clean. Like the rays of the sun can purify a filthy place and still remain pure. Prabhupada is like that. He can do things ordinarily we wouldn't do. So when the sweet ball king saw that Prabhupada ate his sweet, he was in ecstasy. And then he started offering his disciples that were with him the sweets. Obviously, it may have came from some demigod worship also. So Prabhupada praised this man. He is the sweet ball king. His recipes are not to be known by anyone else. Therefore, people buy it and he doesn't give you the recipes. And the other devotees took some, and because he's an elderly man, he's well respected in Calcutta. And the other persons, they took the sweets, the other devotees. So when the old man came to Giriraj Swami, that time Giriraj Das Brahmachari, Holiness Giriraj Das Brahmachari at that time. So he refused. He refused. And then the old man looks at Prabhupada, sweet ball king. And Prabhupada looks at Giriraj Das Brahmachari. So he asked him why. He asked Giriraj, why you're not taking this sweet? So Giriraj Das Brahmachari used to be a very austere brahmachari. He used to eat frugally, and he said, no sweets. He took like a brahmachari vow, I don't take any sweets. It's Maya for me, it's just enjoying. Like that. So that kind of mood he had in those early days, very strict brahmachari in that sense. So Prabhupada just told him, you may take a sweet just to make an old man happy. And then he broke his vow of being strict brahmachari and no sweets, and he took a sweet. And he had. And today, even today, he loves sweets. Pera, sandesh, I know. Just to make an old man happy, probably. You should take a sweet just to make an old man happy. So sometimes, we break a lesser rule for a higher rule, just to keep people favorable and connected to us in Krishna consciousness. And even they may not become devotees, but sometimes we may use their temples for our preaching. Okay? Sometimes when we're having Janmashtami festival, if you go to them for donations, they give you a lot. Oh, Janmashtami, oh yes, we also celebrate, but we'll help you. No problem. We'll give you tents, we'll give you chairs, whatever you need, you take. Because your festival is very big. And we have all this here, no problem. So this is to keep that favorability, to engage them either indirectly in devotional service, although they may not directly be practicing devotional service, is an important factor for us in the mood and mission of preaching Krishna consciousness. Yes, you can take a sweet just to make an old man happy. Who's next? Any comments? Or today is the last day of the series of classes. Questions or realizations? Anyone?
Rasika Chandra Prabhu. There's 3 more devotees, starting from Rasika Chandra Prabhu.
Okay, Rasika Chandra, please come forward to the screen.
Hare Krishna.
We can hear you, Hare Krishna. Tell me.
Yes, we go to page 143 of the text.
Page 143. Yeah, I'm with you. Page 143. Yes, tell me.
Yes, while reading the first paragraph, it is said that we start from the stage of sadhana bhakti by the help of the devotees.
Yes.
And then when we come to the stage of love of God, by the authority of Bhishma Dev, he says that love of God means completely giving up all so-called love for any other person. And further, he says that one's affection completely upon one person, withdrawing all affinities for any other person. So
Yes.
at this stage, do we exclude the devotees, or the devotees are still there?
How can you say that? How can you say that? I know it's a nice question, a valid question. Okay.
Because it is said there.
I haven't finished. I haven't finished. In earlier classes, we said that Krishna includes his
Yes.
expansions, his associates,
Okay.
you know,
Yes.
incarnations, the
Yes.
disciplic succession,
Yes.
and Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, and all the devotees of the Lord. Krishna
Okay.
includes. So when we say we repose our love in one person, it's like watering the root of that tree
Yes.
or feeding the food to the stomach, which we discussed in previous classes.
Yes.
So in other words, when we repose our love exclusively to Krishna, then it automatically pleases the devotees. It pleases the disciplic succession. And it even pleases all the associates of the Lord. That's what it indicates. We should know that Krishna is never alone. In fact, they gave the example of watering the root of the kripa, you know, root of the kripa, and then the flowers and the twigs and the leaves are naturally satisfied. Why am I not getting the water directly? They don't say that. See, they don't say that. So similarly, when we develop our love for Radha and Krishna, then automatically the associates and the disciplic succession and the devotees are pleased with this. We give them great joy. All right, next person.
Next person is Kevala Bhakti Prabhu. You can on your video and come into the screen.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, humble obeisances, goes to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
We were hoping to
Tutara
share a few. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Val- Tell me.
We were hoping to share just a few reflections on the series of classes, if it's okay.
Don't let it be a reflection, that's like Abbas.
So maybe then just.
Some substance is, substance is better than the reflection.
Okay.
What is that?
So just some of how we felt. It's been really nice, Mark. Just wanted to thank you and the organizers. For those who don't know, again, my name is Kevala Bhakti. That's my wife, and this is our baby Revati. The classes that have been happening here for us in Toronto, it works out to be around 7:30 in the morning, and so it just has been a really nice and inspiring way to start each morning, to hear from yourself and hear from the Nectar of Devotion. And I know there are a number of devotees from Toronto who are on these calls, and we have little discussions offline together and just relish throughout the day about how nice the classes are. I also just wanted to share how nice it's been and how personal it's been. Marge, the way you have shared the knowledge from Nectar of Devotion, you've kept it so personal for us, particularly when we ask questions, or it feels like it goes straight to the heart. We have a little fussy baby, so we're really also looking forward to watching the YouTube video.
Not fussy.
Yes.
Sorry?
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
Your baby is not puff, not fussy.
Yeah, she's been cooperative, it's true.
She's normal. She's normal.
Thank you, Mom. But I will say that we're looking forward to at least seeing the YouTube videos and studying more carefully. We wanted to be able to really go into detail. Personally, this reminds me of when we did Bhakti Shastri with you, Maharaj. It brings so many wonderful memories of when we did Bhakti Shastri here in Toronto. And, we realize that there's so much more depth to the Nectar of Devotion and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that you can really just endlessly study. So it really is been nice to have this flavor through these classes. And, of course, I have to say that just to echo the sentiment of others, if there were ever any future sessions, whether it's on Nectar of Devotion or any sessions at all, we would love to be able to attend. And,
There may be a possibility of something from the beginning of June. I have some other services to do, and I also have requests from other places for online classes, and I put that on hold.
Oh, great.
So we'll have to work this out. We'll have to work this out.
Yeah,
But
it's
next few days or so, until probably end of this month, I may be a little caught up with other things, and probably more self-study myself to prepare for the next online classes. It's probably going to be, from the beginning of June. We're not sure yet. Some requests have come already. And I put some requests prior to this on hold, and another request came yesterday from Malaysia itself also. And we're not sure about time zone differences, because if the lockdowns are being gradually lifted phase by phase, and people may be going back to the regular times
Yes.
of work. So it depends on the timing also.
Yes.
Whether it's sort of convenient for those who are not working at that time.
Well,
But we'll
whenever
see.
whenever it happens, Marge, we would love to be part of it, and I'm sure many devotees would. So we're just so eternally grateful. And I just wanted to extend a thanks to the organizers as well, Amrita Saki Mataji and Mohana Murali Prabhu and Krishna Prema Prabhu, for so diligently putting these on so nicely, and it was so seamlessly organized. So thank you to them. And this has been one of the highlights of this lockdowns and pandemics around the world, to be able to tap into these amazing classes. There's so much nectar happening online now. So thank you, Maharaj.
You're welcome. Take care. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
And next, somebody is there.
Shiva Chaitanya Prabhu is there. Shiva Chaitanya Prabhu, you can come to the screen.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, where are you? Can't see you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
I need to get your darshan. Come on.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Very enlightening.
Welcome.
A lot of transformation. I mean, your association is so intense. So hope to see you in the person. So Maharaj.
All right. I hope it's not that intense that you get purified or something, but we'd like to keep it simple at times. But you're still welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for your wonderful class, Maharaj. As the other devotees say, we want more your online classes. It will be like.
All right, we can do that in the future. And basically for Malaysia would be Amrita Saki, Mona Murlida, and Krishna Prema Pradayaka Prabhu. So when I contact them for the next online classes, then everyone should be informed.
Yeah.
And I also have email addresses of other devotees that have given in from outside of Malaysia. Also, you'll inform everyone. All right.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome. Hare Krishna.
Next
Who's
is
next?
Wing Chong Prabhu.
Okay, Wing Chong, come on to this.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Wing Chong, how are you?
I will miss all that anyway, and I'm very grateful for your mercy, for such this lengthy course. It's only by your mercy that it's happened, so we're able to assimilate. But there's another thing that I like to say is that beside that, because after study all this, I find that the practicing gap is becoming bigger. It's just like something like initially probably I think I know quite something about Krishna, but after study I find that the gap is so big. It's something like at first I know it, then finally I don't know anything. So Maharaj, please kindly, is there anything that I can close the gap by your mercy, or make it closer? Because the subject was too transcendental in such an aspect, in certain way. So it seems that somehow rather in the extent that I cannot grasp the practicing gear. See, so I hope that Maharaj could kindly enlighten me on this thing, so that I can further pursue without, any doubting or whatever it is, because the gap is quite big already now. I have to admit that. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, you're not sorry. Don't worry. You are quite sincere in what you're saying. Uh, the way to actually close your particular gap in terms of knowing Krishna consciousness in a limited way prior to entering into these classes on Nectar of Devotion is that the more we the more one comes to hear about Krishna and Krishna consciousness, the more one feel that this is not limited. It is unlimited and eternal. So therefore you're feeling the gap. So Krishna consciousness is boundless, no boundaries. No boundaries at all. It is limitless. It is bottomless in its depth. So the way to actually close that gap will not be possible because you bring it to a limitation. So the best way, so the
Understand.
best way to do this is actually to associate with devotees, chant the holy names of the Lord, read the scriptures in the association of devotees, and try as much as possible to go to the holy places like your local Hare Krishna temple or to a Bhakti Vriksha gathering, a Namahata gathering. See, go to some auspicious places like holy places. And also, when you go to an holy place, especially when there's a established temple with deities, then you bathe yourself in the beauty of the local deities like Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Radha Krishna, and other forms of the Lord. So you try to do these 5 things, which are the most potent in devotional service. And the gap will close in the sense of not feeling distant from Krishna. That gap will close. But the unlimited nature and the boundless nature of Krishna consciousness is eternal. There's no limitations to that. All right, we bless you to take the shelter and association of devotees and also to
Thank you
continue
for
to
the enlightenment, and thank you all and other devotees online. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Who's next? Come on. We will give this more time as it needs, no problem.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. There's 2 more devotees, but before that, I'll like to say something. Yeah.
Okay.
Hare Krishna
Tell us.
Maharaj. So I really thank you Maharaj for like giving me such a nice service, like hosting this class. And I'll be looking forward for more sessions online like this. I would like to serve you like this, Maharaj, because I really miss your
And
personal
you did
association.
very well. You did very well also.
Although there is some like sometimes some mistakes are there, so kindly forgive me, Maharaj, because I'm
No,
still learning.
mistakes may be technical, but the technicality is not as important as your consciousness. You did very well.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm looking forward for this kind of service, and also your personal service also, Maharaj, when you come back to Malaysia as soon as possible.
Oh, everyone should know he is my personal assistant when I come to Malaysia, and he does very well. Of course, sometimes he gets trained on the job.
Yes, Maharaj. that's a very great experience. So her Grace
Okay.
Shantirupa Mataji would like to say something.
All right, please come onto the screen. Shanti Rupa Mataji, this is my first darshan of you. You haven't asked anything before, but I'd like to see you. Can you come onto the screen?
Mataji is already on the screen, but Mataji, can you unmute Mataji?
Yes, I've done it.
Okay, I can hear you, but now come onto the screen.
Hare Krishna
Yes.
Maharaj.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept our most respectful obeisances, Maharaj.
All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for the session, Maharaj. I think it was very personal, just like what Kevala Bhakti Prabhu said. And we just realized that we were surfing very superficially in this ocean, and you actually held our hands literally and went very much deep into it. And we went without fear into studying this deeply. Usually we were very, very there was a fear in going very deep into the subject matter, but you took us through so nicely that we are ever grateful to you for this. And thank you for actually assisting us in this Bhakti Shastri course, because we were wondering how we are going to really go through this Bhakti Shastri in this lockdown stage, when you really came as a savior to us. And I really don't know how to put my feelings into words, because this was such a wonderful wonderful way of presentation of the nectar of devotion. And page by page, chapter by chapter, very, very meticulously dealt with. We are ever grateful to you, Maharaj, and thank you very, very much for this opportunity for us to listen, study, and progress further. And please bless all of us to really take this message very seriously and apply it in our lives. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Welcome. For everyone else's information, Mother Shanti Rupa and a good husband. What's his name again? It's slipping me.
Tattvavid Prabhu.
Agabit.
Tattvavid.
Oh yeah, Tattvavid. Yes. Somehow I thought it was Agabit. Tattvavid Prabhu, yeah. These two wonderful devotees, Tattvavid Prabhu and Shanti Rupa Mataji, are some of the senior most devotees in our movement, practically, what to speak of Malaysia. Yeah. And they're very early disciples and connected to His Holiness Jayapataka Swami. And one thing that Shanti Rupa Mataji said right now, a few minutes ago, is that she felt that everyone was diving into this ocean fearlessly, what you mentioned, right? So that's one of the symptoms of devotees, is that they have no reservations, actually. There's no reservations into diving into, Krishna conscious or Krishna Leela Katha, or chanting the holy name fearlessly, because even if it's not understandable, but just being around it, something will rub off, something will come. But the first symptom is that you're not fearful, that you want to go into it. That's a wonderful quality of being fearless, in maybe wondering, I have some reservations, maybe I'm not qualified for this thing, but still you're fearless, So that time of quality is actually, you could say, longed for by many devotees also, by many devotees. Thank you very much, Mother Shanti.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Who's next?
The
We'll
last
take
one.
more time, there's no problem. We'll take more time.
Kripasindhu Prabhu will be the last. Kripa Prabhu.
Kripasindhu Krishna Prabhu, please come on.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, tell us.
Prabhupada Maharaj.
Prabhu, maybe you need to speak little closer to the speaker, Prabhu. We can't
Yes,
hear you.
we hear you more, your voice.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Yes, now don't interfere with anyone, just speak. I can hear you clearly now. Thank you.
Maharaj, thank you very much, Maharaj. It was very enlivening, wonderful. And actually, I myself, I learned quite a lot actually from this lesson for 1 month class. Especially like myself, I'm involving the management. Sometimes it's sad to say we don't have time to even read books. But in this COVID pandemic, so it's a wonderful arrangement that we learn, many devotees learn a lot of things about bhakti, what is a pure devotional service all about, by your mercy, Maharaj. And not only that, it's giving encouragement and then kind of boost to learn more, to study more about this books, Srila Prabhupada, and particularly Nectar of Devotion, a lot of information there. So we're very grateful and thankful. And especially our devotees who are taking Bhakti Shastri, about 35 to 40 devotees are taking Bhakti Shastri course in Kuala Lumpur, Jagannath Mandir. And this Nectar Devotion, I'm sure they learned a lot from this course, Maharaj. And so we hope to hear more from different courses from you, Maharaj. Thank you very much for your valuable time, sacrifice for all of us, Maharaj. It's a thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Welcome. I just want to comment a little bit about this. I would suggest and say something like that Krishna arranged this so-called COVID virus. So it's actually Krishna's arrangements through this type of so-called virus that's going around. But it's actually not so important as the COVID virus, but what's more important is that Krishna has arranged it through such a situation. So in that sense, Krishna has brought us together earlier than expected, in terms of like my visit to Malaysia sometime in the future, I'm not sure when, but earlier than expected, I got all of your nice association through, nice devotees, wonderful leaders like Krishna Kripa, like Kripa Sindhu Krishna Prabhu, encouraging his nice congregation there, especially in Kuala Lumpur, together with all his other management members and so forth. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Somebody else is there?
Last one is Bhaskar.
Okay, Bhaskar, please tell us. And then
Hare
after
Krishna.
concluding word, and then until we
Hare
meet again.
Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna. We thank you very much for your wonderful journey that I make with you in the midst of devotees and you, Maharaj. I remember from the 15th of April up to the 8th of May, we have been with you in your association.
Go ahead, yes.
What?
It was earlier than that, not the 15th, maybe 13th for Nectar of Devotion.
15.
Yeah,
So
but go ahead.
I got from 15.
Okay.
So
when you came. Okay.
yeah, more than 23 days. So the journey we had made was very wonderful. And one thing I learned the most is the golden statement that always remember Krishna and never forget.
And how you do that?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
So always doing the devotional service.
Especially
serving,
chanting.
And chanting and serving the devotee.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
So
you're welcome,
thank you.
Bhaskar.
What, Maharaj?
You're welcome, and I really appreciate your sentiments.
Yes.
And hopefully I'll see you somewhere in Mauritius soon, because you're here in Mauritius with me.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you.
All right, just with some concluding put me back onto the screen. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah. Some concluding words about sort of nectar of devotion and rasa itself. Now, what I'm about to say is actually in some ways in the next divisions, in the next forthcoming divisions of nectar of devotion. Earlier on, one devotee asked when are we going to go forward, with the nectar of devotion. So we're not sure about that, but I'd like to go forward sometime in the future, because we just covered the eastern side, and to go forward will be the southern side, and then the western side, and then the northern side. It progressively moves on like that. But at the same time, just to give you a hint of the following divisions to come after this eastern side, or this eastern division, is that the eternal associates of Krishna, they sometimes may be aware that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But generally they do not know. And it's a sort of like forgetfulness in the sense of Krishna's relationship with them. Yeah. And the forgetfulness indicates that, they may consider the relationship with Krishna more important, than Krishna's opulence or Aishwarya Bhav, because they're in the Madhurya Ras, the sweetness of the simplicity of love of the residents of Goloka Vrindavan or Vraj Mandala. So, except in some sense of separation from Krishna, which is called Vipralamba, they don't really accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Krishna is more than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being the Supreme Absolute Truth, which is more than being the Supreme Person of Godhead. In other words, Satyam Param Dhimahi, which is the last words of the first verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first chapter in the first canto. Yeah. So to illustrate this kind of relationship with Krishna, one time, all the, you could say, community, the whole Braj Mandala community, they had a meeting with Nanda Maharaj in Nanda Maharaj's community hall. Now, the meeting was called up by Upananda. Upa means higher in a sense, like Upananda. So Upananda is the older brother, or rather, he is the elder brother of Nanda Maharaj. Nanda and Upananda. Nanda and Upananda means elder brother. Yeah. And in the meeting, I mean, this was a really amazing Gishtagoshti they had, in Nanda Bhavan's, in his assembly hall. This is in the Mahavan forest, where the place is called Nanda Gokula. This is not in Nandagram, where Krishna was a baby growing up, stealing butter and so forth, eating dirt at Brahmandagat. Yeah. So there, Upananda, he in the meeting, put Nanda Maharaj and all the residents, he sort of mildly chastised Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj asked, why? He said, no, you should be careful. You should not chastise our Krishna. Because everyone has a sense of belonging, like in love of God. And this is my Krishna also, not just Nanda Maharaj's Krishna, sense of possessiveness. That, you should not chastise our Krishna. So Nanda Maharaj asked, why? Like that. Then Upananda said, oh, don't you know? He has symptoms that, he may be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how can you chastise the Supreme Lord? See? And the Maharaj said, don't worry about it. So then what if he's a great demigod? What if he's a great demigod? See? And Nanda Maharaj then said emphatically, no. He is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and neither is the great demigod. He is my son. And then Upananda said, but Nanda, you see, this small boy, he lifted Govardhan Hill. And Nanda Maharaj said, he lifted Govardhan Hill? Didn't you see me and my friends, the other coward men, we had our sticks there? We were holding that hill. So why are you giving the credit? Why are you giving Krishna the credit? We had our sticks there. And didn't you see, Yasoda, how she was fervently praying to Narayan, please let this hill don't fall on us. Lord, she, by her prayers, this hill didn't fall. And Yasoda is agreeing, yes, our boy is our boy. Like that. See? And then Upananda said, but not only lifting Govardhan Hill, this boy is doing things nobody else can do. He's not an ordinary child. Yeah. Then Nanda Maharaj said, I agree with you. He's not an ordinary child. He's my special child. He's not an ordinary child. That's true. And Upananda said, yes, he's also our child. Therefore, we are concerned. We are concerned. Your son is good as my son. So what is the problem? He's not an ordinary child. We all love him more than we love our own family members. Okay. Then Nanda Maharaj said, but you don't live with him. I live with him. And then he said, so if you live with him, what have you to say? And Upananda said, and then the Maharaj said, you know when there's thunder and lightning outside, this boy, he gets so frightened of thunder and lightning that he comes and jumps into my bed and he holds me tightly. You know, Pita, Pita, some frightening, you know, he's frightened. How can you say he's Supreme Personality of God? See? And another thing you don't know about this boy, even ordinary people, at least they can control their senses. But this boy, Krishna, he cannot control his senses at all. He always likes to eat something. He likes to eat yogurt, and if he doesn't like it, he'll throw it away. Then he likes to take butter or something else. He's always like this. And on top of that, even normal people who are cultured, you know, they always speak the truth. But this boy, he always tells lies because he always likes to steal. Now at this point, Yasoda is getting a bit worried. And she's, you know, she's like lifting her eyebrows and she's like looking at Nanda Maharaj. How can you speak about our boy like this in public? Don't give him a bad name. But then she looks at everybody and she sees they were enjoying like anything by hearing about Krishna's mischievous, you know, pranks and this, that. And then Upananda said, which young boy doesn't tell lies? But it's not that kind of lies that is not telling the truth. Boys always tell lies. Even my boy, I asked him, what took you so long to come from the pasturing grounds? And he'll tell something, meanwhile I know he's lying. But he's a boy. So you cannot consider it lies. And Yasoda was very happy in hearing that from Upananda. That, you know, at least he's defending our boy. Whereas, you know, Nanda Maharaj is trying to give our boy a bad name. But what can be done? Nanda Maharaj, in his sentiment as Vatsalya, as a father, is speaking as a father. He's not hiding the fact that this boy is a normal boy, as my son, frightened for lightning and thunder, and also always stealing, and always likes to eat and eat and eat and eat, like that. So in this way, they simply went into ecstasy. Ecstasy, just remembering Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, and they were merged in an ocean of bliss, Sindhu, ocean of bliss. And they immediately also, just hearing from Nanda Maharaj, they immediately also said, how can we even consider that thought in the slightest way that Krishna may be God? No, he's not God. He's our Bal Gopal. You know, he's our Govinda. You know, or the gopis say, he's our Gopinath. How can he be God? How can he be God? So therefore, Krishna is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the source of the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, we worship that lovable coward boy, Gopal, or Govinda, or Gopinath. All right. We would like to not end now, but until we meet again, and we will meet again. And it won't be months from now, but you know, shortly. We're not sure when, but until we meet again. Thank you all very much once again for helping me to dive into the ocean of the nectar of devotion, because the audience is equally important, and then the speaker. Without the audience, the speaker cannot enter into the mysteries of devotional service. So I thank you for that. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki,
Jai.
Jai. Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Maharaj.
Thank
you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Haribo.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Krishna Maharaj.
Bye.
Bye.
much, Maharaj.
Thank you. Thank you. Haribo. Hey, Hare Krishna.
Next time. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Haribo.
Haribol.
Krishna.